projecting a big uptick in COVID-related hospitalizations and deaths over the next 4 weeks, as at least 3 different Omicron subvariants spread quickly across the country. And it's already starting. Hospital admissions jumping 20% nationwide over the past week, with the Northeast and Midwest hit particularly hard.
Fox's Jonathan Seri. The FDA doesn't want most Americans to get the Johnson & Johnson jab anymore.
The FDA says the J&J vaccine brings a risk of blood clots to those who receive it, even though the occurrence of clots is said to be rare.
Fox's Gernal Scott. The FDA is restricting the shot now to those who can't get the Moderna or Pfizer COVID vaccines, or specifically asked just for the J&J version. Conservative Supreme Court justices aren't just facing protests outside the court where fencing's been put up. Could be outside their homes next week over the late draft opinion showing them ready to overturn the ruling that legalized abortion. Fox's Peter Doocy asked White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
Do you think the progressive activists that are now planning protests outside some of the justices' houses are extreme?
Peaceful protest? No, peaceful protest is not extreme.
Republicans say it's going too far, trying to intimidate justices, risking violence. There is an update in the case of the man accused of attacking comedian Dave Chappelle on stage at the Hollywood Bowl earlier this week. Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer.
LA District Attorney George Gascon refused to charge the 23-year-old suspect with a felony for the attack, but instead sent the case to the city attorney, recommending misdemeanor charges.
The LA City Attorney will prosecute Isaiah Lee on those charges, which will include battery and possession of a weapon with intent to assault. Now, Dave Chappelle was not hurt, but Lee was after being tackled by security and others. America's listening to Fox News.
You know, people ask me all the time, Hannity, what kind of gun should I get? I always tell them about my friends at Henry Repeating Arms, and then I tell them, just go to henryusa.com, go to their website. They'll give you a free catalog, free decals, and a list of dealers where you live. Now, they have something for everyone, and they're great gifts to give or receive for Father's Day, graduations, you name it. And by the way, if you're a collector, you should check out their line of tribute rifles that honor folks that serve this great country. Every Henry I have is accurate right out of the box. It's backed by a lifetime guarantee. They're made in America, or they're not made at all. It's a family-owned business. They give back to vets and our military. So if you're in the market for a high-quality, American-made firearm, you're going to love this company. Just go to henryusa.com. Go there. You get the free catalog, free decals, and list of dealers where you live. That's henryusa.com. And yes, they believe in the Second Amendment, and they believe in gun safety.
93.9, the Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 6:03. We're expecting a nice day today, a chance of showers this morning, and then otherwise it's going to be partly sunny. Today's high will be around 64 degrees, mostly clear tonight with the overnight low around 47. Tomorrow is Saturday, sunshine with a high of 72, and then sunshine on Sunday with a high of 71 degrees. Good morning, everyone, and here's some of the stories that we are working on for you in this 6 o'clock hour. We begin with a Columbia man who has been in and out of prison numerous times. He is jailed without bond this morning after allegedly running inside a Columbia Culver's naked. ABC 17's Erica McGuire reports employees at a nearby Taco Bell on Bernadette also saw it happen.
Miller allegedly took his pants off at the door of Culver's restaurant and ran inside. An employee tells me that a customer pushed Miller out the door and threw his clothes at him. He then came back to Culver's and ran across the street to Petromart, where he was later arrested.
ABC 17's Eric McGuire reporting there from outside the Culver's in Columbia. That's the one on Bernadette. Now, Boone County prosecutors have charged Miller with 5 felonies. They include rape, child molestation, and sexual abuse. Again, he is jailed this morning without bond. Meantime, as we speak, Jefferson City and Cole County continue to receive some rain overnight. Most of that heavy rain, though, has moved off to the east. Flooding has closed 11 roads in Cole County alone. That includes North Branch as well as Buffalo roads. Heavy rain also impacting Columbia, about an inch falling Thursday at Mizzou Sanborn Field. That is on top of all the rain that we had in the month of April. National Weather Service NWS St. Louis meteorologist Melissa Bird tells us 5.65 inches of rain fell in Columbia in April, about 0.8 of an inch above normal. So we are way over what we normally get for the last a month and 5 days, and continue to get some more rain this morning, finally clearing out a little bit later today. A trial has been canceled for a Jefferson City man. He is charged in that deadly 2021 shooting at a Lazy Gators bar, Lake of the Ozarks.
The judge and the Camden County prosecutor approved the cancellation of the August trial for Craig Hawkins Jr. He was charged with murder in the May 2021 shooting death of Vonza Watson. Chad Brewer of Jefferson City also charged in the killing. There's no word if Hawkins' trial will be rescheduled. John Marsh, 93.9, The Eagle.
A Mid-Missouri state lawmaker who serves on the House Special Committee on Redistricting cautiously optimistic the legislature will approve a new congressional redistricting map by next week. State Representative Chuck Basie joined us live on Wake Up Columbia. You can find the full interview on our website, 939theeagle.com. Missourians who paid personal income tax in the state in 2021 would receive a refund under a bill that has received initial approval in the Missouri Senate. The bill approved by the Senate includes a one-time tax credit up to $500 for individuals, $1,000 for couples. The Republican-controlled House gave similar approval to a similar bill a couple of weeks ago. It was supported by Ashland State Representative Sarah Walsh. The way Representative Walsh explains this is we would receive a check in the mail under this bill. Now, we'll see what happens in the final version because those versions are a little bit different. Walsh says the people can spend the money better than the state government. In Jefferson City, authorities are appreciative of all the residents and business owners who assisted in the successful search for an elderly man who is battling Alzheimer's. 88-year-old Gunter Fairbairn was found late Thursday morning on Mulridge Court. That is just north of West Truman. It's about a half a mile, though, from where he was last seen near the Hy-Vee. JCPD Lieutenant Dave Williams tells 93.9 The Eagle Fairbairn is being treated for exposure. He was out in the elements all night, but again, he has been found alive, and the police are very thankful to everyone who assisted in that search. Our news is brought to you this morning by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, ensuring the air in which you live and breathe is comfortable and clean for all of your cooling needs. Log on to airserve.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 6:07. In sports, Cardinals beat San Francisco last night 7-1 at Oracle Park. Yadier Molina had his first home run of the year. Cardinals with a lot of offense, 12 hits in the game. Game 2 of the series is tonight at Oracle Park out west, 9:15 on 93.9 The Eagle. Jordan Hicks on the mound for St. Louis. Royals idle Thursday, so no recap of their game yesterday because they didn't play. They'll begin a road series at Baltimore tonight. That will be at 6:05. And in hockey, the Blues are hosting the Minnesota Wild tonight, 8:30 at the Enterprise Center downtown. Game 3 of their first round best-of-7 series. It is tied at 1 game each. Game 4 will be Sunday afternoon on Mother's Day, 3:30 in downtown St. Louis. So if you're a sports fan, you're going to have to stay up a little bit tonight to watch. Maybe take a nap. The Cardinals will play at 9:15, Blues at 8:30 tonight, and both of those games will be televised. Our sports is brought to you this hour by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 6:08.
What's up with the show?
All right, John, thanks. Great work this morning. Yesterday, officially at Sanborn Field, 0.98 inches, so just under 1 inch of rain. Right now in Columbia, Sanborn Field, mostly cloudy, 53. 6:09 traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. No major issues to report here in the traffic in mid-Missouri. Many of you trout fishermen head down to Bennett Springs State Park. Very popular spot for people here in mid-Missouri. Technically, it is in mid-Missouri, just on the edge there in Lebanon. But they had to have water rescues overnight. Literally, state rangers had to come in there and use rafts to rescue the people who were in that park camping. So be very careful if you are camping because, again, we have had so much rain in the past 2 weeks. Be careful out there. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
1.
But we all have a say.
But really, who's really in control here?
Hannah, the producer, is. So my question.
When I was pregnant, I totally called that all the time. I was like, 2 votes. I'd get 2 votes.
Here's the beautiful thing about being pregnant, because as a dude, you can be pregnant. I don't care what science says, but when I was pregnant, I remember, man, you've got this baby in your tummy that weighs, 2, 3, 4 pounds. They're calling the shots. That is not a democracy. They're calling the shots, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's like. So here's.
Wait, you're guessing? I thought you just said you were pregnant.
I was lying. I host a talk show. I'm supposed to lie and fudge the truth, right? So here's what I wanted to ask of you guys, and raise show of hands. Can we go back to something we highlighted Monday on the show? And I want to do this because it is a feel-good Friday, kind of newsy stuff, and hopefully it'll put a smile on your face here at 6:13 in the morning. Stephanie, are you cool if I do this next?
Sure.
Show of hands. Everybody cool with it?
I don't know what you're doing, so I am not going to vote.
All right. So Stephanie.
You're abstaining.
Stephanie votes. Hannah's abstaining. Hauswirth, aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that's 2. I get 3 votes. Aye. So that's 5 to an abstention. I just want to go back to Sunday. White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Because these people have been so hard on you, which I don't get. I really don't. I think ever since you've come into office, things are really looking up. Gas is up, rent is up, food is up, everything. Despite some hiccups, President Biden has led the country through some really dark times since he took office. The COVID pandemic, the war in Ukraine, the launch of CNN+. Last month he caused a huge international incident saying that Vladimir Putin should be removed from power. It was very, very upsetting to Russia. Yeah, until someone explained to them that none of the stuff Biden wants actually gets done.
Are you happy with your vote now that you know how things went down?
Yeah, I'm happy with my
Hauswirth, you happy with your aye vote?
Sure.
Hannah, are you happy with your abstention?
Yes.
Meanwhile, today, Jefferson City, technically by tomorrow, but some incredibly important votes happening today in Jefferson City, potentially.
And I think when you're kind of tease, if you will, at 5:30, hit it on the head, some people ask, well, why should I care? Well, literally, and we talk about this, Branden, almost every session, what happens in Jefferson City has a bigger impact on your daily life, not you specifically, but as a whole, than anything in Washington. I think a lot of people forget that. They're so focused on President Biden or Vice President Harris or the Supreme Court, all very important. But in terms of daily impact, and that budget literally affects every part of your daily life. That is the only thing the lawmakers are constitutionally required to do. And here we are. Technically, they could go in tomorrow. They really don't want to. It has to be done by tomorrow. They're close, but they still got to hash out some differences, and then the 2 chambers would have to approve it. I think it'll get done, but it is a big deal. It's going to be, and I talked to Cody Smith the other night, the budget chair. It's going to be the largest budget in history, about $45 billion, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe a little less. We'll end up seeing. But it's huge. We're talking about a lot of federal money, too.
And we were there at the governor's State of the State address back in January, and I sat right above him and looked down at the top of his head. Mike, it's Branden. But he said, and as a matter of fact, I even tweeted out that day.
Whoa.
Oh,
that's impressive.
Haven't done it since, but I tweeted. I get on there sometimes. At Rathert Branden is how you can find me on Twitter.
At Stephanie S. Bell.
At Brian on the Air.
Producer_Hannah.
And they said, and I tweeted out, biggest budget ever in the history of Missouri.
That's
and
right.
The amount of money for broadband, especially in rural areas of Missouri. And this is important. We have rural areas here in Missouri, but we take the internet and all this stuff for granted. It's almost when I get into it, I'm like, there's people that live in the parts of this state that it's 1996 on their AOL dial-up. Really.
It is. Ashland, the Ashland area, Stephanie knows this. BJ Tanksley has testified the Ashland area has significant problems. The Mexico-Audrain County area, when we had the Chamber of Commerce, are trying to save their hospital up there. One of the biggest problems up in northeast Missouri is there's just the phone service doesn't work, much less internet. I mean, it is a really big problem. $400 million proposal. We won't know what'll be in that until the end of the day, but there'll be some of that. We just have to see what the final version says.
Yeah, and that's something I don't think, fully registered with me is, I understood the concept of going to the Lake of the Ozarks or a cabin or grandma's house and not being able to have Wi-Fi and be frustrated.
That was part of why we went.
Right. But I didn't fully understand the impacts on things like hospitals and on, modern farm equipment and the impact on the businesses that are so important to that area that really can't function as society has expanded, as that equipment has gotten more advanced. It's not just about going to grandma's house. It's about, keeping those industries that are really important to those communities available to those folks, because those things now require internet as well.
Yeah, they really do. And the last point I would make there to what Stephanie just said, Branden, this highlights everything you need to know. The Director of Agriculture, Chris Chin, who listens, by the way, to Wake Up Columbia, the Agriculture Director, has a farm in Clarence. She lives in Jeff City during the week. She cannot do her work on the farm on the computer at her home. She has to drive to the McDonald's in Macon to do her work. That's because right. that tells me, that is a problem. That's a problem. And she doesn't get special treatment, doesn't want it, but literally she has, and all the school kids do too. That is a problem.
Well, and it was highlighted during COVID as well, because a lot of these folks too, they'll drive to their library or places like McDonald's that then closed during the pandemic. Yeah. And so it was their only internet option. They're like, well, I only have internet now on Tuesdays when the library's open.
That's just it. Exactly.
No, it's laughing, but these are true stories. You want a side of fries with your Wi-Fi, man? That's what it's like. Now, this does not end the legislative session. That will end next week. Interesting. We had Chuck Basie, State Representative Chuck Basie, on the show yesterday, and he was talking about some of the things happened on the floor in Jefferson City on Wednesday. But what was really interesting, he was, technically, short of a special session, his last legislative session. You kind of hear the emotion in his voice because it is an honor, I would imagine. Stephanie he is serving in public office. The idea, regardless of what happens once you get there, it's an honor. And you could hear the honor, I think, in Chuck's voice yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
In having been able to be an elected servant for 8 years, roughly, last legislative session. It's in the Wake Up Columbia podcast. Go to the website, Wake Up Columbia On Demand. As a matter of fact, from yesterday, I think 3 big things. If you do go and check out the podcast, probably the 3 big things that you'll want to check out from yesterday's podcasts.
So the 6 o'clock hour,
okay,
the 7 o'clock hour, and the 8 o'clock hour.
Those are the 3 big things probably that I would check out. And if you are watching on YouTube, you'll notice we're all wearing red, and here's why. There's 2 reasons. Number 1, we all called each other at 3 o'clock this morning. Hauswirth, what are you going to wear today? I'm wearing red. Then Hauswirth called Hannah. Hannah called Steph. Steph called me, and we decided to all wear red. That's one reason. But there's another reason that we wear red.
We wear red on Fridays to remember everyone deployed. And if any of you call me at 3 in the morning, I'm going to automatically think that something is wrong.
Your little description just kind of gave me the giggles, because do you remember ever seeing like an actual phone tree, like before texting, where you did have, you never had that?
What's that?
Oh my goodness.
Something smart people do, Hannah, apparently.
Like, if there was an emergency or something really timely or important in an organization or something else, there was a legitimate phone tree. Like, this person, you call these 2 people. Those 2 people call these 2 people. These 2 people call these 4 people. And it was a way to make sure everyone was notified in a timely fashion.
It's a pyramid scheme.
It's a phone tree. But I just realized as you said
pyramid
that.
Scheme.
We don't have those anymore because we have
scheme.
Text messaging.
Or phone tree. By the way, so social media, as I try to branch out like a tree would and expand my social media prowess, of which I have none right now.
I was going to say, you said that you gave up on Twitter, so I wouldn't call that expanding.
I'm contracting.
You chopped your limb off, okay?
I got the bark beetle in my expansion. But there's something on TikTok, actually.
Ooh.
And you saw it?
And I saw it. Because my kid, man, he's always sending me. He's 29 years old, always sending me TikTok stuff, and it had something to do with Justin Bieber. But it was kind of.
Oh, great.
Oh, great. She's already, Steph's excited.
We got the old guy thinking he's cool.
Justin Bieber.
We got the old guy thinking he's cool because he saw a TikTok, and we got Stephanie over there love struck over Bieber.
But it's interesting because he's talking about, tell me something true. In other words, maybe something that you've never admitted. And in this TikTok video, he featured Tom Brady, who said something that's like, wow. But then I got to wondering, what could we admit here on the show? And Hannah and I were talking about this morning. We pretty much are an open book. I don't know that, well, there are some things, but I'll only share that with my best bud, Stuart. There are some things that I'm trying to think, what could we say? What would you be willing to admit on the show that's true? And I was trying to come up with anything, and I came up with nothing. And then Stephanie came in this morning. Boom. I've got one now. I've got something that I can admit.
About Stephanie?
No. And it's not about Stephanie. It's when Stephanie came in, it reminded me, yeah, this is something that, So
I don't like ranch.
There's that.
Or sandwiches.
Let's go deeper. 6:35. I've got one. You got something you're willing to tell me something that's true?
I can't. I mean, it's not that I'm not willing. I just can't think of.
Because we're so open anyway.
Almost to a fault.
Sun is coming out. Another big thing today. Daily DC Rundown coming up a few minutes from now. What's underneath the circus tent this morning?
We've got more details about that Russian ship that sank. Some more info coming out about that.
All right, we'll do that for you in just a few minutes. And forgive me for kind of a slower-paced song here to start on a Feel Good Friday. But it's the Beatles.
93.9 The Eagle. Watch the show on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page.
New CNN polling finds feelings about the economy are the worst they have been in a decade. According to this latest poll, most Americans are not happy about the economic state of
That
things.
is CNN getting us into today's daily DC rundown. And it's interesting. Lowest polling. In other words, it's your confidence. It's America's collectively, our confidence in the economy. It's not good. Lowest numbers in a decade. Who was in leadership a decade ago? Common theme here that gets us into today's daily DC rundown with Stephanie Bell.
Well, and yesterday didn't help any. Apparently, the Dow had its worst day since 2020, so confidence is still pretty much at an all-time low on the economy. Also, we realized, or I guess it was announced yesterday, that the U.S. is sharing intelligence information with Ukraine. We knew that early on, but we were kind of balancing how much we were sharing with them as to not further, I think, anger Russia. But it did come out that we were the ones that shared the intelligence about the location of the big ship that sank, that Russia said just randomly started on fire.
What happened?
Yeah, exactly. So that was us. Jill Biden's visiting families over in Ukraine over Mother's Day, and the Senate is going to vote on legislation that would codify abortion rights, which is most certain to fail because they don't have the 60 votes, but they are symbolically going to vote on it anyway.
Some of the things happening in D.C. today. Coming up, the story of that Alabama corrections officer who bolted with a prisoner, and what's something that you are willing to admit?
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Chief Justice John Roberts says whoever leaked the Supreme Court draft opinion on abortion rights is foolish to think the leak will affect the court's work.
Chief Justice John Roberts speaking out for the first time in public since somebody leaked a draft opinion revealing the landmark decision guaranteeing abortion access nationwide. Roe v. Wade may be overturned. The Chief Justice saying he believes, quote, one bad apple may be responsible for the leak and calling it, quote, absolutely appalling.
Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer. President Biden has chosen a new White House press secretary with Jen Psaki leaving next Friday.
I just want to take the opportunity to celebrate and congratulate my friend, my colleague, my partner in truth, Karine Jean-Pierre, the next White House press secretary.
She'll be the first black and openly gay person to have that job. She's deputy press secretary right now. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 6:31. Robinson saves you time. Right now, we have mostly cloudy skies, 53 in Columbia, 51 in Jefferson City. Good morning, I'm Brian Hauswirth. A Columbia man who has served 5 stints in prison in the past 15 years is jailed once again without bond this morning. This time he's charged with rape, child molestation, and 3 other felonies. Our partner ABC 17 News reports Justin Miller allegedly ran inside that new Culver's on Bernadette naked Wednesday evening. Culver's had to close an hour early that evening due to the incident. KMIZ also reports Miller was banging on car doors at the Taco Bell drive-thru across the street. He was trying to get inside several cars, according to authorities. Miller is jailed without bond this morning. A judge says he is a danger to the community. Meantime, heavy rains and flooding have closed at least 11 roads in Cole County. That includes Buffalo and Zion roads. MoDOT also had to close a stretch of Highway 94 due to flooding. Columbia with about an inch of rain Thursday at Sanborn Field. The ground is completely saturated. You'll notice extra Missouri State troopers on the road this Mother's Day weekend. They're enforcing the slow down, move over law. Troopers doing similar enforcement in neighboring states. And a veteran mid-Missouri lawmaker hopes the House will approve a new congressional redistricting map by early next week. The new proposed House map splits Columbia into 2 districts. We'll tell you where that boundary is as best we can. It's still a little unclear, even from the map, coming up at 7:03 with Representative Basie. News brought to you by MidAmericaMortgage.us. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 6:33. In sports, the Cardinals beat the San Francisco Giants last night, 7-1 at Oracle Park. Cardinal leadoff man Tommy Edman had 3 hits, 3 RBIs. Yadier Molina hit his first home run of the year. The Cardinals with 12 hits against 9 Giant pitchers. Game 2 of the series is tonight. First pitch is at 9:15 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Of course, it is a late game because they're playing out west. So Jordan Hicks against Alex Cobb coming up tonight. Royals were idle Thursday. They did not play. They use that as a travel day and to rest up. They begin a road series at Baltimore tonight, 6:05 in Baltimore. The Blues host the Wild tonight, 8:30 at the Enterprise Center, downtown St. Louis. That'll be game 3 of their first round best-of-7 series. The series, I should say, is tied at 1 game each. Wild won the last game by a score of 6-2. So game 3 tonight at Enterprise. Game 4 will be Sunday afternoon. That will start at 3:30. TNT will have your television coverage coming up this evening. Our sports brought to you by the Better Business Bureau. Businesses can join and sign up for accreditation. Start online, bbb.org. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job. Post your job opening today. Again, Zion Buffalo roads right now are closed in Cole County. Zion especially is an area that we have had problems at all week. Layla Mitchell, who works at Channel 17, we use a lot of her material here on the show. She did a live shot last night at 10. Somebody actually tried to drive through that water, had to turn around. Didn't do anything wrong. You just can't see it. The water literally covered up in the dark. So be very, very careful, especially on Zion Road. And that's a lot of that is closed down in Cole County. We finally will get some dry time today. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
I don't want you to worry about me. I'm vaccinated. I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I gotta admit, that's probably the most decision I've made in a long time. I walk in the doctor like, give me the third best option. I'll have what the homeless people are having.
Dave Chappelle, who's had an interesting week. There is news regarding the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and I laugh about that because that was when I first got my cootie shot, that was the first option I had to go with because I wanted to go and fly. I was worried. I wanted to go see my grandkids, and I'll do this. And I went with the third best option.
Well, you came in the day after, and you told everybody like you had a dirty secret. You're like, I got vaccinated. And then I was like, oh, what kind did you get? Because that's the first question you ask. You went Johnson & Johnson. I went, oh, man.
And it was on because in the room, half the people laughed at me, and the other half was almost like a disappointed father. You really you went with the J&J vaccine, and apparently there's some health issues with this, and they're not pulling it from the market, but they're saying, hey, when we rushed you and wanted to force you into taking vaccines, and it didn't matter, and we forced you to take the vaccine, a lot of people went, okay, my work is forcing me to do this. Some government entities in some cities across the states are forcing me to do this. This is why we were concerned, because now we're, there's been an inordinate number of Johnson & Johnson vaccines causing blood clots.
Yeah, and so they're saying, I think they're limiting it to anybody under the age of 18. But if you recall, they pressed pause there for a minute, too. And what was really terrible was I had gone out to lunch with a girlfriend, and I think it happened while we were at lunch, and she had literally gotten the shot the day before, and then they're like, guess what? Going forward, we're not giving this shot to anybody else. And she was like, wait a minute, but yesterday you said it was fine. And so, it really had people freaked out. And I think this is, I guess if you're an adult, maybe they're saying you're still okay, but they're not giving this thing to kids.
We think you're okay. We don't know. We didn't know about this thing for kids under 18. So a couple of things here. It highlights that is the problem. So if you have somebody today and they say, well, say we should get vaccinated and you should do it, and here is a very viable, sensible, non-argumentative way to say, see, that's why we did not want workplaces. We did not want any government entity to force something down our throats, i.e. into our arms, that had been tested in a period of less than a year. That's why we said no. This is why that stuff is wrong. It's simply wrong. So now everybody's got this crap in their body, and they're still studying these vaccines, by the way. My goodness. Welcome to the show. Feel Good Friday. David Chappelle had an interesting week, and this is not just about a comedian being attacked on stage during a live show. And I don't know, I'm guessing, number one, the dude who attacked him had mental issues. If you get up in the middle of a show and try to stab somebody with a gun that looks like a knife, you got mental issues. But Dave Chappelle has been, I won't say he's been outspoken on behalf of the First Amendment as much as he just does it. He says what he wants. I love it because people get mad and say, how come? Because he's saying what he wants, and some people, dang it, they find it humorous. And I'm not okay with it because that sense of humor doesn't agree with my sense of humor. Stop saying those words. And they whine and they cry and they went to bed. He was attacked this week in the midst of a string of shows. Sets a record. I think it's the Hollywood Bowl in L.A. Number of people going to see a stand-up comedian. Record-shattering performances this week. He is going to be okay. The prosecutor, who is, by the way, facing a recall petition right now, and voters in L.A. are this close. I think they're only 150,000 signatures of registered voters away from the threshold to get him recalled. Same thing is happening with the DA in San Francisco, because even the progressives are going, whoa, you guys are way too soft on crime. This guy, Gascon, in L.A., not charging this guy with a felony. I don't know all the details of the case, so I don't know how it is. But again, it's that attack on Dave Chappelle in the middle of a live show. To me, that is an attack on freedom of speech. People are so wigged out by things that other people say, and they cry, and it hurts them. Like, man, buck up, cowboy. 874-9390. I actually want to get into, and I thought Hannah and staff would be really excited about this. I found something on TikTok, but it's not a TikTok Hollywood thing. I think it leads into kind of a bigger topic about, and I can't remember if it's Tell Me Something True or Tell Me Something Honest, but it's Justin Bieber, and then has to do with one of the biggest moments in NFL history as it relates to rules. And then something that maybe we would say that's true. But first, want to chat with David on a Feel Good Friday, 874-9390, 874-9390. David, what are you grateful for today?
Good morning. I am grateful that it's Mother's Day this weekend. With all the craziness about abortion, this and that, I'm so grateful that I came from a family of 7, and I was so blessed to have a mother that, as crazy as we were, she put up with us, and if she had a thought about abortion, she never told us.
Hey, man, thank you for sharing that, David. We appreciate you. David listening in Perry this morning. I saw an op-ed several years ago, and I think about this every year because I married a single mom and adopted my son Trevor. He's now 29 years old. Somebody wrote an op-ed in an Idaho newspaper years ago, and they were talking about Mother's Day and all this, and I like to do this, and I hope I don't ever sound preachy saying this stuff, but the op-ed, it was written by a single mom, and I was reminded because of my marriage to a single mom about remembering, too, hey, let's not forget about single moms here on Mother's Day. Bill Parker, he's listening on his laptop. We appreciate that. He feels good for his son and his tiny dog. Chuck the truck driver feels good. He's coming home this weekend.
Oh.
And I love this. He's making a request for bumper music. And we're going to satisfy that request coming up here in just a few minutes. Something you're feeling good about, something you're grateful for today. Feel free. honestly, people say, I feel grateful about the weather. I feel good it's Friday. No kidding. The sun is supposed to come out a little bit today. It's going to peek around the corner a little bit. It's not a full-fledged coming out, not coming out of the closet, but you're going to kind of test the waters.
You're welcome. I keep bringing the weather with me. I brought the rain from Seattle, and I brought the sunshine back from Vegas for you.
You need to spend more time in Vegas and Phoenix and places like that. All right, this TikTok video. Justin Bieber and then Tom Brady. And this has to do, and I guess it's a trend on TikTok. I don't know these things.
It is.
It is? Okay. And it's, tell me... Tell me something true or tell me something honest. So there's a few seconds of Justin Bieber, but the big thing is what Tom Brady says about one of the most consequential games as it relates to rules in the history of the NFL. Remember the Tuck rule game, 2002 playoffs in the snow, New England trailing the Raiders. Seconds to go, they end up tying it because of a call that was reversed, said he didn't fumble the ball. It was a Tuck rule. Everybody who is an NFL fan, even casual observers, were upset. Everybody except for Tom Brady fans and New England Patriot fans, of course.
New trend alert. Tell me something honest.
Tuck rule game against the Raiders.
Might have been a fumble. That's Tom Brady saying, hey, that Tuck rule game, it may have really been a fumble, which would have obviously changed the course of the playoffs that year and who went on to win the Super Bowl championship that year. But I like that. And this is a trend because I also don't hold with people who say TikTok is to blame for all this craziness. People are to blame for their own craziness. I just don't ever. As a matter of fact, there's this hazing case at Mizzou where these people are being sued, and because this kid, God bless him, he's still in recovery in Colorado, but people want to hold those people responsible for what this guy did, and I don't hold with that. January 6th, it's nobody's fault except the people that are now getting sentenced for it. You do stuff, it's on you. But I got to wondering, what's something you could tell me that's true? And Hannah and I were talking about this. We're pretty open. And I don't know what I could add that you say, tell me. And so I thought of two things.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if you're listening right now, what would you be willing to admit? Tom Brady admitting that Tuck rule game, which is a monumental game in the history of the NFL, saying, yeah, maybe I wasn't tucking the ball. Maybe I did fumble it. And now, 20 years later, I can admit it. But Hannah and I couldn't come up with a whole lot.
No, because we're pretty much an open book, maybe sometimes to a fault.
Yeah.
And it's not that we're not willing to share something. I just can't think of anything.
I just don't have, and I don't know if I don't think secrets is the right word, but what would you be willing to say that's true? And I couldn't think of anything. And then this story, have you been following the story of the corrections officer in Alabama? She was a few days away from retirement, takes off with a convicted second-degree murderer. They are still on the run. That just blows my mind.
You have maybe not a similar story, but...
So I'm like, something and this is something I've never mentioned before. And then Stephanie came into the studio this morning.
What?
Uh-huh.
Steph, I'd be worried if I were you.
I know.
I was so worried. I'll tell you this, and I don't want to take you too much behind the scenes, but I said, yeah, Stephanie came in. I'm like, there's something else I can admit, something I can say that's true. And then I got to thinking, I don't know if I should mention this on air. So something I don't like to do in some circumstances is go to anybody else here on the show, whether it's the interns or whoever, production, whoever it is. I don't like to go and say, hey, is it okay if we do this? Because I just want to get natural reaction.
And then the answer is probably no.
But in this
you
case,
have to ask. I said I don't care.
So I did. I asked Stephanie about this. I'm like, hey, I probably should ask you about this first. Because it's not about Stephanie. But every single guy listening this morning will go, I'll bet you a week's worth of Hannah the producer's salary.
Bet your own salary.
I'll bet you a week's worth. I'm comfortable enough betting my own salary this time.
Okay, good.
I would bet a week's worth of my salary that every guy listening will go, yeah. And I asked Stephanie about it. Let me ask, what was your reaction just when I asked the question?
I just kind of rolled my eyes, but then I mentioned something that was similar that you immediately went, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's do this. We'll do that coming up about 5 minutes from now here on a Feel Good Friday here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com, where you can listen live. I'd also suggest you watch on our YouTube channel. Chuck the truck driver feeling good. He's coming home this weekend and said, hey, I remembered one time you played White Zombie.
Hey, it's Coach Gary Pinkel. I like to listen to Branden Rathert on Wake Up Columbia 93.9 The Eagle.
New trend alert. Tell me something honest.
Tuck rule game against the Raiders.
Might have been a fumble. Tom Brady. So let me explain. If you're not informed or familiar with the ways of TikTok, let me explain TikTok to you.
Okay, calm down. You've been on there for 2 seconds.
How does TikTok work?
It's basically just like any other social media, but you're posting short videos instead of pictures.
Stephanie, what is the best way? Because I think Stephanie uses TikTok more than anybody I know. And let's look at the facts on this. It just seems that way. That's the only fact I have to back up that statement.
It's very scientific.
Very scientific. But TikTok...
You know you're my friend if I send you a TikTok, but a lot of people send me TikToks too, and so I like...
My son
if I
sends it to me.
see funny ones, I will send them, but Branden is totally getting... Trolled is not the right word, but it's not just... it's not a viral grassroots-style TikTok trend, because Justin Bieber's new song is called Honest. So he went on his own TikTok and said, hey guys, new trend. Play my song in the background and say something honest. And Branden's here hyping Justin Bieber's new marketing campaign.
He played right into Justin Bieber's plan.
Sure did.
Wait, is that really what happened here?
Exactly.
Huh. But it's interesting.
That's embarrassing.
I got had, man. Like a misleading headline.
Because the cool part about TikTok is most of the time it's like it's not someone in their mom's basement, but it's like a 17-year-old kid who hears another song and then like there's a weird trend and it kind of develops organically. These like top-down Justin Bieber thing just to promote something is less cool.
Two things I thought about that. Number one, so that's Tom Brady on there at the end telling him something true.
Against the Raiders.
Might have been a fumble. That tuck rule game against the Raiders, one of the most monumental NFL games in history, especially as it relates to rules. It was a fumble. No, it was a tuck. New England goes on. They win that game. Everybody except for New England fans were furious over that. So he's saying, yeah, that may have been a fumble. So that's huge. But then it got me to thinking, as Hannah and I were just kind of, as we were having some coffee and toast this morning, said, what's something you could admit that's true? Tell me something true. And I don't know, a lot of things. And then it occurred to me as Stephanie walked into the studio this morning, oh, here's something I could tell that's true or honest or whatever Justin is singing about. Tell me something honest. Stephanie walks in, and this isn't, please understand, this is not about Stephanie. But it made me think, and Hannah, just so you know, I asked Stephanie before we went on air with this.
Okay.
And she said it was okay. And I think any guy listening right now, Bill, Nathan, Mark is in Florida listening right now, Gary, any of these folks, a woman, when she wears a shirt that has letters on the front of the shirt.
Hannah is embarrassed for you.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Here's why. And it's not like a perv thing or anything.
It's not?
No, it's not. Because here's what I'm trying to say, and I'll probably do a very poorly job of explaining. It's just a thing. Because you have letters on the front of your shirt. And I don't need to explain more, but every single guy, I'm betting a week's worth of my salary, every guy right now, maybe not, I could be
It
wrong.
reminds me of when I was in college, every Victoria's Secret pair of pants had the words pink on the butt. Do you remember this, Hannah? And I'm so glad we got away from that.
Yeah.
Right? Because what are you staring at my ass for? Well, because there's a word on there.
Okay,
yeah, I'm staring
there's a
at
difference between looking for 1 second to read a word and staring.
There
Good
is.
point.
But when it's on the front of a woman's shirt, you walk in, and I'm not making eye contact with Stephanie or anybody else for that matter, and I'm reading their shirts, that's something honest.
I'll be honest.
Ukrainians escape the hell of war. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. An official in Ukraine says they were able to get almost 500 more civilians out of the bombed-out city of Mariupol. Some finally escaped that steel plant where there's a battle going on with the Russians.
For weeks now, an estimated 2,000 Ukrainian Marines, along with innocent civilians and even children, have been holed up in the tunnels beneath the massive Azov-style steel plant as Russia bombs them from above. Now, a Ukrainian official is claiming a traitor, an electrician, showed the Russians how to get access to those tunnels, and Russians are now storming the plant by foot and with tanks, forcing the Ukrainian Marines to fight back, surrender, or perhaps die.
Fox's Matt Finn in Lviv. There could be another COVID surge coming.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says COVID cases are about to rise as at least 3 different Omicron subvariants are expected to spread. We're already seeing the impact with a 20% jump in hospital admissions nationwide over the past week.
Fox's Jill Nato. There's new fencing up outside the Supreme Court where protests have been loud after a leaked draft opinion showing conservative justices ready to overturn the ruling that legalized abortion. And those protests could follow those justices home. Activists calling for demonstrations outside their houses. Republican Senator John Cornyn tells Fox.
This risks violence against members of the Supreme Court and their families.
But White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says people have a right to protest peacefully.
I think we shouldn't lose the point here. The reason people are protesting is because women across the country are worried about their fundamental rights that have been law for 50 years.
In about a half hour, we'll find out how many Americans got hired last month, expected to show about 400,000 jobs created. Economists also predict the unemployment rate might have dipped from March's 3.6%. We'll see how Wall Street reacts. Futures have been down after yesterday's massive sell-off that wiped out the big gains earlier this week. America's listening to Fox News.
You know, people ask me all the time, Hannity, what kind of gun should I get? I always tell them about my friends at Henry Repeating Arms, and then I tell them, just go to henryusa.com, go to their website. They'll give you a free catalog, free decals, and a list of dealers where you live. Now, they have something for everyone, and they're great gifts to give or receive for Father's Day, graduations, you name it. And by the way, if you're a collector, you should check out their line of tribute rifles that honor folks that serve this great country. Every Henry I have is accurate right out of the box. It's backed by a lifetime guarantee. They're made in America, or they're not made at all. It's a family-owned business. They give back to vets and our military. So if you're in the market for a high-quality, American-made firearm, you're going to love this company. Just go to henryusa.com. Go there. You get the free catalog, free decals, and list of dealers where you live. That's henryusa.com. And yes, they believe in the Second Amendment, and they believe in gun safety.
.939 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 7:03 here in mid-Missouri. We have mostly cloudy skies. It is 52 degrees in Jefferson City. Good morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. In this 7 o'clock hour, flooding has caused at least 11 roads to be closed in Cole County in the Jefferson City area.
Cole County Public Works says they include North Branch, Boehner, and Buffalo roads. Heavy rain has also impacted Columbia. About 1 inch fell Thursday at Mizzou's Sanborn Field. That's on top of April's rains. National Weather Service St. Louis meteorologist Melissa Bird tells us 5.65 inches of rain fell in Columbia in April, about 0.8 of an inch above normal. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
All right, Don, thank you. Meantime, Missouri State Troopers are going to be out in force starting today and all weekend. You will see them on the roads all throughout mid-Missouri. More on what they're doing in a moment. The patrol says 421 people were killed in speed-related crashes in the Show Me State in 2020. It's the last year those numbers are available. They'll be out in force starting this morning during the entire Mother's Day weekend. They're enforcing slow-down, move-over law. They say a crash on a road with a speed limit of at least 65 miles per hour is more than twice as likely to be deadly than a crash on a road with a speed limit between 45 and 50. It is a state law. If there is an emergency vehicle on the side of the road, you have to go over to another lane. Many people ignore that law. In some cases, if you have to stay on that lane, you have to slow down, but the patrol will be enforcing that all weekend. Look for that starting this morning. A mid-Missouri state lawmaker who serves on the House Special Committee on Redistricting is cautiously optimistic the legislature will approve a new congressional redistricting map by next week. Rocheport Republican Representative Chuck Basie says the House Speaker, Rob Vescovo, is worried about a federal lawsuit that's been filed by a St. Louis resident.
I think that's very appropriate for him to be concerned. I think we're all concerned about that. If this goes to the courts, it will not be good for the people that think like me.
Basie is hopeful the Missouri House will approve a proposed new map as soon as Monday or Tuesday. Now, under the proposed new map, Columbia and Boone County, at least part of it, would move to Congressman Lutkemeyer's East Central Missouri district. So would Cooper and also Montauk counties. A Columbia man who has been in and out of prison 5 times in the past 15 years is behind bars once again this morning, this time jailed without bond. He allegedly ran inside a Columbia Culver's naked. ABC 17's Erica McGuire reports employees at a Taco Bell on Bernadette also saw it happen. Numerous charges filed.
Miller allegedly took his pants off at the door of Culver's restaurant and ran inside. An employee tells me that a customer pushed Miller out the door and threw his clothes at him. He then came back to Culver's and ran across the street to Petromart, where he was later arrested.
ABC 17's Eric McGuire with that report from outside of Culver's. Now, numerous witnesses also say that Miller was banging on the doors of cars at the Taco Bell drive-thru there on Bernadette. He was trying to get inside. We don't have a lot of details right now, but Boone County prosecutors have charged Miller with 5 felonies. They include rape, child molestation, and also sexual abuse. A judge describes him as a danger. He is being held this morning without bond. And Jefferson City authorities are appreciative of all the residents and business owners who assisted in the successful search for an elderly man who is battling Alzheimer's. 88-year-old Gunter Fairbairn found late Thursday morning, Mallridge Court, just north of West Truman. JCPD Lieutenant Dave Williams tells 93.9 The Eagle Fairbairn is being treated for exposure, adding he was out in the elements all night, and again being treated right now as we speak. Our news is brought to you in the 7 o'clock hour by the Candy Factory. They're in downtown Columbia. It's Mother's Day coming up on Sunday. Mom wants chocolate-covered strawberries from the Candy Factory. Anniversary, birthday, Mother's Day, any day. Candy Factory, downtown Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:07. In sports, Cardinals beat the San Francisco Giants last night at Oracle Park 7-1. The final score there, I still want to call it Candlestick Park. It will always be Candlestick Park to me. New park, though, on the waterfront. Oracle Park is the formal name. 7-1. The Cardinals win it. Tommy Edman, 3 RBIs in the game. Molina hit a home run as well. The Cardinals, 12 hits against 9 Giant pitchers in the game. Game 2 of the series is tonight. First pitch, 9:15. Here on 93.9 The Eagle. Your home for Cardinal baseball. Jordan Hicks on the mound. Alex Cobb gets the start for the Giants. Royals were idle on Thursday, so no recap for them this morning. They'll start a road series tonight. 6:05 first pitch. They take on the Baltimore Orioles. In hockey, the Blues hosting the Minnesota Wild tonight, 8:30 at the Enterprise Center. That's kind of late. Normally, the games at the old arena, the Checkerdome, even the Enterprise Center, the latest I ever remember a game really starting was 8 o'clock. That's really pushing it. 8:30 tonight. This is because of television. In Game 3 of their best round, first of 7 series. It's now tied at 1 game each. Game 4 Sunday, 3:30, Enterprise Center in St. Louis. Sports brought to you by Betts Jewelers, downtown Columbia. Gifts that last a lifetime. Our news time, 7:08. John, thank you. Our sunrise this morning, 6:06. We're finally getting a little bit of clearing right now. Not much. 53. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. Just a reminder, and they will be enforcing it. No exceptions. Move over law in the state of Missouri and slow down. You're going to see a lot of state troopers. If you're traveling to Kansas, Iowa, Nebraska, Arkansas, they're doing the same thing as well, starting today and all weekend. So make sure you slow down unless you want to get a ticket. They will be enforcing that law specifically all weekend. They normally try to do it, but certainly you're going to see that enforced a lot this weekend. And we'll see what kind of activity takes place today. We'll have another update coming your way at the bottom of the hour and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Wednesday, and he was talking about the White House Correspondents' Dinner and Joe Biden's mention regarding Branden. And I'm going to nominate, and by the way, he did give, and I'm not saying this to brag on the radio station, gave 93.9 The Eagle and the Zimmer Radio Network kudos for our work with the Central Missouri Honor Flight. I'm going to nominate Josh Hawley and Roy Blood and Vicky Hartzler, their quick work this week. We quietly found out, Brian Hauswirth revealed to us that apparently Capitol, the National Park Police, said we're not going to do police escorts for veterans for any honor flight in D.C. anymore. We got on it, and I'm going to nominate Brian Hauswirth because he's the one kind of started asking questions. So I'm going to nominate you for one of our winners of the week at 8:35 this morning.
Thank you, sir.
If you have somebody you'd like to nominate, please let us know. 874-98390. Feel Good Friday. What are you grateful for? What are you feeling good about? Last night, as most 51-year-old chubby balding white dudes do, I'm goofing around on the TikTok last night. And this was on TikTok. And it's not about Justin Bieber. It's not about TikTok. This is about two things. Number one, Tom Brady admitted one of the most monumental games in NFL history as it relates to rules, the tuck game, the tuck rule, which NFL refs ruled Tom Brady didn't fumble. He was tucking the ball, not a fumble, changed the course of NFL history that year and in ensuing rules. And Tom Brady is pretty much, I don't even know if he's answered the question as much as he pulled a Jen Psaki and said, well, you know, the refs decided what the refs decided. But check this out.
New trend alert. Tell me something honest.
Tuck rule game against the Raiders.
Might have been a fumble. That's Tom Brady saying, hey, might have been a fumble. And I love it. So the theme of this TikTok is tell me something honest. Hannah and Steph have astutely pointed out that I've fallen right into this disgusting trap that so many of us do, except not...
You might have heard of Carvana, and that was...
Not a whole lot of us...
I was taking a look at the actual replay of that play there, and didn't realize.
But I had to go through a dang commercial first.
Brian's car shopping over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you're trying to do a show for Mid-Missouri, and Brian, maybe I could buy a new car this weekend.
Actually, I was looking at literally. I wanted to see what that was. The snow game against the Raiders.
Yeah.
That was, and that was that was huge. I couldn't remember who the opponent was. I knew it was the snow, but that was a big deal. I'm surprised he said that, what he just said. I really am, because that's going to stir up a hornet's nest, and the Raiders, you could make the argument, have never been the same from that either.
Yep. And so I'm thinking, okay, because the Raiders were in the Super Bowl, I believe, the year before, and lost, and then never really recovered from the Super Bowl victory and then losing that stunner in New England several years ago. But it got me to thinking, as Hannah and I were Hannah was teasing me this morning about even being on TikTok, but tell me something honest. And if that's true from Tom Brady, that's a big deal. And I got to thinking, I don't really have anything more that I could add here because we are pretty honest. And then Stephanie came in this morning, and I was like, oh, there's something. And I bet a week's salary that guys can relate to this. And based on our text, I'm going, yeah, okay, I was right. So when women wear shirts...
Just FYI, my dad is listening. He said, I'm going fishing this morning, honey, but I'm tuned into the show.
Oh, boy.
Let me reiterate something I've said 3 times already then in the past half hour. This is not about Stephanie.
It's not.
I got to mention that Stephanie's dad. It's not about Stephanie, but it made me think. Women who wear shirts with letters on the front of their shirts. And it's not that it bothers me. It's just a thing.
Oh, I'm sure it doesn't bother you.
I mean, beautiful text. Matter of fact, I think we're going to have to open up the mailbag here in just a few minutes on this. But first, I want to talk to Chuck, 874-9390. What's up, brother?
Well, I just wanted to say, after just hearing what you said, there is one shirt in particular I've seen numerous times, and it says at the top, if you're reading this, you're a pervert. Well, okay, but that's not the worst part. On this shirt, there are 2 properly, if you will, positioned huge eyeballs in the exact locations of where you use your imagination. And it's not so much that I mind them wearing those shirts, but they're always wearing them when I'm with my wife at the restaurant or at the grocery store.
Chuck.
And by the time you've read the sentence at the top, I guess I'm already a pervert.
You're already in trouble. Thank you for taking time out of your day on a Feel Good Friday to share that with us.
Letters. I get letters.
All right, we got some texts.
So many letters.
Messages. We don't get letters.
A whole bunch of letters.
Open up our mailbag this morning.
I'd even read mail from a cow.
A Feel Good Friday. So here we're getting a lot of texts on this. I also, just so Stephanie's dad knows, I did ask Stephanie before.
You did.
I went to air with this because it's not about Stephanie. It's just and I don't know if it's
it's a flaw, which is why when I was like in college and everything in Victoria's Secret had something written across the butt, now they don't do that because of people like you, Branden, and I'm thankful.
Ouch.
My dad's listening too, okay?
Okay, and I'm glad that
Your
they
dad's
don't
probably going, yep.
put words all over the butt of pants anymore because that was a really weird time, I feel like.
Ben, via text, you're not staring, Branden. You're just a slow reader.
Well, see, that's the thing. I don't know, I think it's one thing to look and read the shirt and then move on, and it's another thing to sit there and stare. Like, those are 2 very different things in my opinion.
Right, and it is 2 different things, but I don't think we're talking about staring or glaring. It's just when there are letters on the front of your shirt, it's like you have to look, and as a guy, as me, as trying to be a polite guy, I'm afraid to glance anywhere else because so many people are so, oh my God, did you look at my breast? What? No, I was reading your shirt, dude. I remember one time this woman said, well, but you're staring for a long time at all these letters. I'm like, yeah, because it's the damn entire Declaration of Independence written on the front of your shirt.
Now, one of my favorite TikTok trends that I've seen is like a girl will put her phone in her back pocket and turn the video on and then like walk around like a Lowe's or a Target or whatever, and it captures every single person sneaking a peek at, her backside.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Hilarious. Some people try to be like really sly about it, and everyone is totally exposed.
Tell me if this is too far. This is not me. This is a text from a listener.
Have you screened it before you're going to read it out loud?
Yeah, and that's why I want to ask your guys' opinion. Some of us need Braille.
No.
Grateful for dyslexia. It takes some of us longer to read. But I think as a guy, and I'm not trying to talk about it's just when women have letters on the front of their shirt, it's just, thing, and I don't even know how to explain it. 874-9390, 874-9390. More in the listener mailbag regarding this topic. Can I read has anybody read the text from Jamie? Is that okay? Jamie, it starts out, and it makes it even tougher. Can I read that? They're saying it, not me.
I don't know.
All right, let's talk to Stephen first and think about that one from Jamie. 874-9390. What's up, Stephen?
Hey, a couple quick things. One, whenever Stephanie was talking about, whenever Victoria's Secret had words across the bottom of a woman.
Yep.
Whenever I was in college, I got caught looking at a woman's rear end. And somebody said, "What the hell are you doing?" And it was in Greek. So I said, "I'm trying to learn Greek."
And that's a real thing. I remember the girls, they would wear...
sorority,
Yep. All right, and what's your other point you wanted to make?
I really I love graphic T-shirts. I have quite a few. And I'm in a wheelchair. One of my favorite ones, it says, "Are you checking me out, or are you just staring at my wheelchair?"
Oh, man. And you wear that?
Yeah, all the time.
Oh, man. Well, God bless you. So you've got a sense of humor about yourself.
Yeah, you got to learn to laugh at yourself, man. You can't. If you don't, you can't get through anything.
Stephen, you are the epitome of what at least I think we try to do here on the show. You got to have a sense of humor about yourself.
Yeah, you got to laugh. I always say I got to laugh about myself. Everybody else is going to.
Stephen, you need to check in with us more often, okay?
All right. Thanks a lot, Branden.
All right, man. I love that sense of humor about yourself. Stephanie has something that she says she's willing to be honest about, and I was kind of surprised about this. But when she told me, I'm like, yeah. Yep. We're also going to be doing What's Hot with Hannah here in a few minutes. 8:35 this morning, winners and losers of the week that we will nominate or pick depending on whoever's upset the most. Here's what happens, and it happened again this week. No, it happened last week. Whenever we do winners and losers of the week, some folks get upset because we would pick winners and losers. You're picking winners and losers. And then, so we say, okay, so we'll do nominations. The point being, here's some big interesting things that happened this week. That's the point. And then last week somebody says, you're nominating. You sound awfully liberal, guys. Okay. So we'll see how that goes. 8:35 this morning here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. And in the midst of all this fun, budget deadline for Missourians for the state legislature, that is tomorrow. It's getting close. It's important. And the sun is going to be coming out later today. What's hot with Hannah today?
It's a national holiday that for once I am begging you to please not celebrate.
Please don't celebrate this holiday. It's What's Hot with Hannah. We're going to do that for you 7:25-ish on 93.9 The Eagle. It's Wake Up Columbia.
putting the fun in dysfunctional. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
And all the Democrats are going to do is sit around and talk about veganism and pronouns. And to some extent, that is a justified opinion that they have.
All right, that's the Raging Cajun. You know James Carville, longtime Democratic strategist, saying, well, the people are talking, Democrats are focusing too much on things like veganism and pronouns. One of the most well-known Democratic strategists is saying, yeah, and that's a problem for us. That is legit, man. 7:25-ish, which means it's
It's 7:28.
time for What's Hot with Hannah.
Your streak of 7:27 comes to an end.
I didn't like the inconsistency. For years, we've been doing What's Hot with Hannah at 7:25. We do it at 7:28. Twice this week, I started at 7:27. That's just too inconsistent for me.
Okay, well, today is a national holiday that I really am going to encourage people to not celebrate. And today is National No Pants Day. So please, for the love of all that is good and holy, please wear pants today.
I hate that the federal government mandates, or whoever it is, mandates that we have to wear clothing in public. I'm kidding, obviously.
Except shoes?
Shoes. See, I'm okay with that.
Of course.
Because
that's what you want.
It affects me.
Yeah.
It's something important to me. There's a Columbia guy got busted yesterday. He's running around, apparently, I think up there on, like, by Stadium and 70. I think it was, I might be wrong, but he's running around at a Culver's somewhere or something and running around naked. Mark, who is listening in Florida this morning, texted at 874-9390. Have we all heard of Florida, man?
Oh, yeah.
It's a thing, all these crazy people in Florida. Mark, who is listening in Florida this morning via text 874-9390, says, man, Florida man is becoming Como man. Reminds me of a story we brought you yesterday, and that was this guy, apparently he's a Como guy, was in Centralia after he robs a small locally owned convenience store and stole a dump truck for his getaway vehicle. Mark, I think you're right on with that Como man stuff. We have found something that Stephanie is willing to admit that is true. Tell me something honest. We've been talking about that this morning, letters on the front of women's shirts. But Stephanie has something that I think is very appropriate as we get into Mother's Day. That's coming up at 7:35.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. The monthly jobs report is out. The Labor Department reporting 428,000 jobs were created last month. There's heavy fighting reported at a steel plant being used as a fortress in Mariupol, Ukraine.
A Ukrainian official is claiming a traitor, an electrician, showed the Russians how to get access to those tunnels, and Russians are now storming the plant by foot and with tanks, forcing the Ukrainian Marines to fight back, surrender, or perhaps die.
Fox's Matt Finn in Lviv, Ukraine. Johnson & Johnson's COVID vaccines now restricted to people who requested or who can't get a different one.
The FDA says the J&J vaccine brings a risk of blood clots to those who receive it, even though the occurrence of clots is said to be rare. The one-dose J&J vaccine has not been as widely taken as either the Pfizer or Moderna two-dose protocols, in part because of safety issues.
Fox's Gernal Scott. The Louisiana legislature has advanced a bill classifying abortion as homicide. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 7:31. Robinson saves you time. Right now we have partly cloudy skies in mid-Missouri, trying to dry out. 53 our current temperature. It's 51 in Jefferson City. Sunrise today was at 6:06. It sets at 8:06 this evening. Good morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. A veteran mid-Missouri state lawmaker is hopeful the House will approve a new congressional redistricting map by early next week. Monday or Tuesday, he hopes. The proposed new House map splits Columbia into two districts, but it's difficult to see where the boundary exactly is. Rocheport Republican Representative Chuck Basie has talked to the redistricting committee chair, Dan Scholl, and he says that line is along Broadway through Columbia, connecting with I-70.
He said it's I-70 as the border, but I haven't seen a really detailed map, but one of the analysts I talked to said that when it gets to Midway, it follows along Highway 40 where I live.
It's Representative Chuck Basie. Cooper and Montauk counties would also move to the third under the new map. You can hear our full interview with the chairman, Chuck Basie, on our website, 939theeagle.com. Missouri taxpayers one step closer to getting a $500 tax refund from the state. Senate has given initial approval to a bill. It provides a one-time tax credit up to $500 for individuals, $1,000 for couples. House has already passed it. Ashland Republican Representative Sarah Walsh says Missouri has a $1.8 billion surplus. A Columbia man who served 5 stints in prison in 15 years, jailed without bond this morning, charged with rape, child molestation, other felonies. He is Justin Miller, and flooding has closed at least 11 roads in Cole County and the Jeff City area. News brought to you by WillettDentalAssociates.com. It's 7:33. In sports, 7:33 here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. The Cardinals beat San Francisco last night at Oracle Park out west. 7-1 was the final there. Yadier Molina hit an early home run in the game, his first of the year. Tommy Edman had 3 hits, 3 RBIs for St. Louis, who had 12 hits. Giants had to use 9 pitchers in the game. Game 2 of the series is tonight. Late start because they're out west, 9:15, 93.9 The Eagle. Jordan Hicks against Alex Cobb tonight. Royals were idle Thursday. They used that as a day to rest up. They're on the road today, taking on Baltimore tonight at 6:05. And the Blues in hockey hosting the Minnesota Wild, 8:30 at the Enterprise Center. Always good to have playoff hockey in downtown St. Louis. 8:30, the puck will drop tonight, probably with commercials and some other things, probably closer to 8:35. Game 3 of their first round best-of-7 series. It's tied up at 1 game each. And our sports is brought to you this hour by Tiger Towing. When you can't get going, Tiger Towing, 573-449-3754, tigertowing.com. Our news time is 7:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job. Post your job opening today. Just a couple of very quick notes. Again, a reminder, troopers here in Missouri, and if you're traveling to other states, most of the neighboring states, Arkansas, Kansas, Iowa, Oklahoma, among others, will be doing the same thing, enforcing the move over and slow down law that'll be enforced around the Midwest. Also, we have 11 roads here in Cole County in the mid-Missouri area that are closed. 94 has reopened. Zion Road is apparently the biggest issue right now in Cole County. That is near Jefferson City, and that one continues to see more rain on it and more flooding on it. So be careful in all of those areas. We'll have more team coverage coming your way in 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
If you have the audacity to tell people how you're doing when they say how you doing, that's rude and selfish, all right? I'm serious. There are 2 acceptable answers to how you doing. Fine and great. And if you're miserable, you say fine. You don't burden people with your real world problems during a courteous exchange. Yeah.
Tom Segura, he's true. That's accurate. As a matter of fact, people ask, how you doing today? I'm like, do you want me to say fine or you want me to tell you the truth? And they say, yeah, tell me the truth. And then they immediately regret that decision because I will tell them the truth.
Which I think is hilarious because you used to ask me, how are you this morning? And I'd always say, I'm here. And you kind of got onto me for that. And so I started to say, I'm good. And you're like, good.
Good. Yeah. Well, especially as it relates to here on Wake Up Columbia, because, we want everybody coming with a good attitude to start. don't be honest about how you're feeling during Mental Health Awareness Month. Don't be honest here on the show before showtime about how you're feeling. I just want to hear that you're doing well. I'm going to tell you that I'm doing well. More often than not, I will not be honest if for some reason I'm having turmoil or some white guy luxury problem or something. I won't say it before the show because I want to go into this with a positive frame of mind.
It reminds me, if you remember that Meghan Markle interview where somebody asked her, like, are you doing okay? And she, like, got teary and said, like, no one ever asks me that, you know? And yeah, it was heartbreaking to see that for her. And you have to imagine, you know, but I think we'd all be better served if we were more honest.
Yeah. But when do I be honest? Because usually, hey, it's how you doing is it's French for hi, really. How you doing? Most of us don't want to know how you're doing. Most of you don't want to know how I'm doing. How you doing is just, hey, how you doing? I love that stuff there from Tom Segura. Welcome to the show. This is a feel-good Friday. We are wearing red. A couple of pieces of things that might get in your, not get in your way, but will affect you. Budget, man. It's crunch time in Jefferson City. Technically, constitutionally, it has to be done by tomorrow. But I'm guessing lawmakers right now, as they're getting ready this morning, we know a lot of folks, a lot of lawmakers from out of district listen to Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle in Jefferson City. And a lot of, I'm wondering what that frame of mind is this morning. Gosh, we got to get this done, number one, because Missouri Constitution says we have to. And number two, gosh, I really don't want to come in on Saturday. And listen, I do that too. I want to get my stuff, whatever I have done. If I had a real job, when I used to have real jobs, I'd be like, I want to get everything done today because I don't want to come in on a Saturday because that is my time, and I got to be balanced as a human to come back Monday and do a good job for you. But I'm wondering what's going through their minds this morning.
Yeah, it's a great point on everything you said there. I think it's a very important to note for the casual listeners, Branden and Stephanie, that the lawmakers, it's very rare. I mean, very rare for either chamber to be in on a Friday. They just generally don't work on Fridays, with the exception of the final Friday of the year, which would be next Friday. So it is rare. And yes, it is the only thing the legislature is constitutionally required to do is to approve a balanced budget. It has to be balanced. You could argue what is balanced because I'm not sure anybody really knows. They really don't know what the revenue is going to be. They don't. No one does. But they are required to do it. Technically, tomorrow is and we'll see. Probably it's going to be around $45 billion. It'll be tweaked a little bit. It'll have to go to both chambers, but it's a huge deal. I do remember one year, the Carnahan years, it did not get done by the deadline, and he had to call them back, and I believe they had to do it, and it had to do with abortion. It had to do with abortion, but that's the only time I can remember him not passing it.
And we don't know what the revenue is going to be. We do know what we have in the coffers, and as a matter of fact, it's one of the reasons Sarah Walsh and other lawmakers really been pushing for this $500 refund to Missouri taxpayers. Because we do have so much money in the coffers right now. Where are we looking in the waning days with that? Where are we looking at with that, with potential? And by the way, and I think there's families would get more.
Yes, they would. And I'll have an update on that for you at 8:03. But in a nutshell, it's a great question. The Senate has given a approval of the bill. They have a cap in there for people. I believe it's $150,000 for a couple. But the bill is basically the same as the House. You would get a tax rebate. The way Representative Walsh has explained it to both of us is that you'd get a check, basically. $500 for an individual, $1,000 for a couple. They basically have to reconcile their two bills before next Friday. But it looks like that's going to go through.
Good news things happening in Jefferson City. And by the way, that's money from the feds. As distasteful as it is, why not give it back to the taxpayers if it's there instead of throwing it at other social programs? Jeremy, 874-9390 is our text. Jeremy gets it now. I mean it when I'm working to improve. I say we're going to do this at 7:35, and then I get behind. I said at 7:35, and Jeremy is calling me on it. He says, yo, it's past 7:35. I'm thinking, I just wanted to make sure we got it because we've had some fun conversations this morning on stuff that I think everybody, well, only two groups of people can relate to our topics this morning that we've been really spending a lot of time on. Dudes and chicks. Those are the only two groups of people I think that can relate to this. We got into this. There's a TikTok trend thing. Tell me something honest. Tell me something true. But what's bigger, Tom Brady saying, I have a feeling he was just being funny. But Tom Brady saying, hey, the Tuck Rule game, 2002 playoffs that allowed us to win and then go on to the Super Bowl, I may have actually fumbled, which is interesting, but he's admitting something that's true. And so here on the show, we're trying, okay, what's something that's true? We are so open, I don't know that there's anything else that we could add that's true. One of the things that gets to me when women wear shirts that have letters on the front of their shirt, it doesn't, I'm not mad about it. It's just a thing. And based on our text from dudes this morning, people are saying, it's really a thing. But then mentioned Stephanie had something that is true, and I didn't think about this, and she said it, and I'm like, yes. And so I said we're going to do that at 7:35. Right now, it's 7:43. Tell us something honest, Stephanie.
I think legitimately most people have a favorite kid.
Oh, no. So does that mean that you're most people?
Are your kids listening this morning?
Probably. And the way we describe it to them is it's temporal, right? Like
so they know.
It changes from time to time on who's currently the favorite. And obviously you love all of your kids, but I think if adults were really being honest when someone said who's your favorite, I think no one will ever admit it, but I think in their mind they know.
Who's willing to admit it here going into Mother's Day weekend? 874-9390. By the way, Eden, congratulations.
Uh-oh. Was that a commercial break confession?
No, I didn't even ask. So, yeah, who can admit?
The youngest is always the favorite, right?
See, I would say the oldest because I'm the oldest. I'm the best.
I would say the same thing because I'm also the oldest, but like my husband's the youngest and my sister is the youngest, and I feel like they got away with so much, and they still, I mean, they're both, 30s and 40s, and they still like gang up on me and are like, and get away with more than I ever would.
Mike Mattingly calls it the password kid. And you know what? Because I have a favorite child, Trevor. I'm in a different...
Man.
Always willing to go out on a limb, Rathert. But I have a favorite child. It's Trevor, and I'm very open about that. I have no qualms admitting that. Stephanie's in a different predicament than I am. Let me ask you this. If I reached out to your mama, who would she say was her favorite, you or your brother?
I don't know. I probably don't want to know.
Scott says he has twins, and his favorite is the one that's not acting up. And we used to be open with the kids. We were like, Amelia is our favorite right now because Drew would wake up at like 5 every morning, like 5 a.m. He's an early riser. And then Eden was young enough that she still woke up in the middle of the night, and we were like, she's the only one that sleeps. And I'm like, give me more children that sleep, please.
Now, Branden, you said you were the oldest of your siblings. I don't know why. I can't picture that. You told me that a couple weeks ago, and I'm pretty sure I looked at you and said, I thought you were the youngest. You just have that personality. I don't know what it is, but you don't strike me as an oldest child. I think it's because I knew how much you were in trouble when you were younger.
And it makes sense that you would say that you don't seem like you'd be the oldest responsible one, Branden. That completely, it makes sense.
And you're the middle kid that didn't get enough attention.
The youngest sibling in his family is like a chief of police now, and that to me is like backwards. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's something honest. For a lot of years until recently, I was really I don't even know if jealous is the right word, envious of my sister because she was the younger one. She has all these degrees in law enforcement and all this crazy stuff. She's married like a chemical engineer, and she lives on materialistically. And I'm like, and I don't have that stuff. And for a lot of years,
That makes sense. I feel a little weird about that.
But I wouldn't admit it because that's showing vulnerability.
Well, like in mid-mo here, and I don't know how far this goes, but like the hog trough dance at weddings, have you seen that? We did it at our wedding, where if your younger sibling gets married before you, you're like a fool. And so, literally, in the middle of the dance, they'll throw a hog trough on and put some silly song on. And you, as the older sibling who didn't get married before your younger sibling, has to kind of do a silly dance. Have you seen this before, Hannah?
I have not.
Oh, it's fun.
My sister incidentally got married before I did. Cindy via text. Stephanie, thanks for saying that. See? That's what it's about. It's about honesty. Here's the house I grew up in. You know, like a lot of homes, and I don't know if they did this in any of your houses, but, you know, every few months you measure the kids against the wall and you got the measuring tape and you say, little Hannah on January the 12th, 2008, she was this tall.
We have that.
Yeah, and you keep doing it, and over the years, and it's pretty cool. Well, at my house growing up, we didn't have that, but we had like the rankings of us three kids. Who's the favorite kid right now? Who's in second place? Who's in third place? So, sun is coming out today. That's one of the big stories. Want to make sure in the midst of this honest stuff that really does everybody can relate to. Want to make sure we're covering some of the news stuff too. Jefferson City legislators today budget. Sun's coming out today. I think that's a big news story. Something happened yesterday at the White House, and it was funny. And the other thing was we don't have to be critical of anybody, but it was a kind of a lighthearted moment. I want to make sure you check that out before
This is the show people are talking about. Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. 93.9 The Eagle.
Name as many Star Wars characters as you can.
Yoda, Chewbacca, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Padme, Obi-Wan, C-3PO, R2-D2, BB-8, Darth Vader, Kylo Ren, Darth Maul, Boba Fett, The Child, Mandalorian, IG-88, Lando Calrissian, Finn, Rey. Okay.
Please name as many American presidents as you can.
Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Bill Clinton, Obama, Harding, Nixon, Coolidge. Oh my gosh, I'm a history major, so I'm having a brain fart.
Jimmy Kimmel show yesterday, and they talked to him. We might highlight some more before we get into the Gary Nolan show at 9 o'clock, too. But then they were asking, hey, name the supreme being on one of the Star Wars things, and then name a Supreme Court justice. Always interesting. Welcome into the show. Feel Good Friday edition of Wake Up Columbia. And we're wearing red today. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, you go, how come you guys are all dressed the same? It's not necessarily that we color coordinate. We do it for a reason.
Yeah, we're wearing red to remember everyone deployed.
And it's cool. So whenever I go to the Columbia Pachyderm meetings on Fridays, it's right by one of the campuses for Veterans United. They always have their employees with specialized shirts. That's, I think it's really cool. Today, they're having somebody from the pork producers speak at the Columbia Pachyderm meeting. And all my friends in the beef industry are really, they're cool. They're all excited. Yesterday at the White House, something kind of interesting happened. Kind of, lighthearted and humorous. As Jen Psaki is leaving to prep for her. She's been prepping for her gig on MSNBC for a long time. But we know about the relationship between Jen Psaki and Fox's Pete Ducey. It's a great relationship. I get upset when people say, yeah, it's kind of like Jim Acosta and Trump. No, it is nothing like that because Acosta did that. He did it to be an ass. He was specifically trying to troll. He wasn't trying to ask genuine questions. He wasn't trying to get real information. He was just trying to be a moron. He was a duffel bag, and he succeeded, by the way. But Fox's Pete Ducey has always been very thoughtful in his questions and asking for specific info for stuff that we probably all care about. And we know that behind the scenes, Fox's Pete Ducey and Jen Psaki, they have a very famous relationship. They get along very well. So this happened yesterday.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. Sorry to see you go.
Are you?
Yes, and you've always been a good sport.
Thank you.
So
As
on
have
behalf
you.
of everybody, thank you
Thank
for
you.
everything.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see you up there, Kareem.
So it's like at the end of an NHL playoff series. Hopefully after the Blues beat the Wild here over the next few days. You know what happens after those hard foughts? Winners and losers of the week nominees coming up at 8:35. Those hard fought. But here I was going to accidentally say something really profound and screwed the pooch on this one. It's cool that they get along, but it's like the end of a playoff series. At the end of the game, what do the players do? What do the Blues do, right? They go and you skate and you shake hands with the other team and you say, good. I remember we used to do this in Little League Baseball, regardless of who won, whatever, after you met at the pitcher's mound and you said, hey, that was a tough battle. We fought tooth and nail because of this, because of that. They did that. Ducey and Psaki did. And then the ball game's over. The playoff series is over. And they shook hands in the middle of the ice. Coming up, 8:10. There are some things that are going on that's going to affect us, even here in Missouri. Deadline looming. This is going to affect all of us. We'll have more on this coming up at 8:10.
lot more Americans got hired in April. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Even more than expected, but no change in the unemployment rate. Fox's Lillian Wu has the Just Out report live.
Dave, job growth last month was still strong despite inflation and the war in Ukraine. 428,000 people found work in April. That's the 12th consecutive month of 400,000 plus jobs created and slightly above expectations. The unemployment rate still low at 3.6%. Sector seeing the strongest gains: leisure and hospitality, manufacturing, transportation and warehousing, and professional businesses and services. Dave?
Lillian, on Wall Street, stock futures are down the day after the Dow nosedived 1,000 plus points in a massive sell-off, erasing the big gains from earlier in the week. It may soon cost us more and more to mail stuff and ship things at the post office.
Get used to uncomfortable postage rate hikes in the coming years. That's the word from Postmaster General Louis DeJoy. In remarks to the Postal Service Board of Governors yesterday, DeJoy said it's part of the plan to make the Postal Service self-sufficient.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. A stamp now costs 58 cents. The next proposed hike is to 60. The CDC says expect a rise in COVID cases again, with 3 new Omicron subvariants spreading and hospitalizations up 20% this week. One of the COVID vaccines is falling further out of favor. Fox's Gernal Scott.
The Food and Drug Administration is now restricting the J&J shot to those who specifically requested or those who cannot receive Pfizer or Moderna's offering.
The J&J shot carries a rare blood clot risk. There are reports of fierce fighting at that steel plant that nearly destroyed Ukrainian city of Mariupol. Russians now inside.
A Ukrainian commander is pleading for the evacuation of civilians and wounded fighters who he says are dying in agony because of lack of proper treatment.
I appeal to the world community to evacuate the civilians.
The Kremlin denies troops are storming the plant.
That's Fox's Matt Finn in Lviv. America's listening to Fox News.
You know, people ask me all the time, Hannity, what kind of gun should I get? I always tell them about my friends at Henry Repeating Arms, and then I tell them, just go to henryusa.com, go to their website. They'll give you a free catalog, free decals, and a list of dealers where you live. Now, they have something for everyone, and they're great gifts to give or receive for Father's Day, graduations, you name it. And by the way, if you're a collector, you should check out their line of tribute rifles that honor folks that serve this great country. Every Henry I have is accurate right out of the box. It's backed by a lifetime guarantee. They're made in America, or they're not made at all. It's a family-owned business. They give back to vets and our military. So if you're in the market for a high-quality, American-made firearm, you're going to love this company. Just go to henryusa.com. Go there. You get the free catalog, free decals, and list of dealers where you live. That's henryusa.com. And yes, they believe in the Second Amendment, and they believe in gun safety.
.939 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:03. We do have partly cloudy skies here in Columbia, trying to dry out. 53 is our current temperature, on our way to a high today of around 64. Clear tonight, low near 47. 53 again in Columbia, 52 in Jefferson City. Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Hauswirth. A Columbia man who has served 5 stints in prison in the past 15 years is jailed once again without bond this morning after allegedly running inside a Columbia Culver's naked. ABC 17's Erica McGuire reports employees at a nearby Taco Bell on Bernadette also saw it happen when the suspect tried to get into some cars at the drive-thru.
Miller allegedly took his pants off at the door of Culver's restaurant and ran inside. An employee tells me that a customer pushed Miller out the door and threw his clothes at him. He then came back to Culver's and ran across the street to Petromart, where he was later arrested.
ABC 17's Erica McGuire there with that report as she reports outside the new Columbia Culver's. Now, the Boone County Court has ordered this Miller to be jailed without bond. They describe him as a danger. They have charged, the prosecutors have, this Miller with 5 felonies: rape, child molestation, sexual abuse as well. Unclear when he will be arraigned or if he has an attorney right now. Missouri State troopers say 421 people were killed in speed-related crashes in the Show Me State in 2020. The Highway Patrol is out in force already this morning. They'll be out in force all weekend enforcing the slow-down, move-over law. They say that a crash on a road with a speed limit of at least 65 miles per hour is more than twice as likely to be deadly than a crash on a road with a speed limit between 45 and 150. A mid-Missouri state lawmaker who serves on the House Special Committee on Redistricting optimistic the legislature will approve a new congressional redistricting map by next week. Republican Representative Chuck Basie of Rocheport says the House Speaker Vescovo is worried about a federal lawsuit that's been filed by a St. Louis resident.
I think that's very appropriate for him to be concerned. I think we're all concerned about that. If this goes to the courts, it will not be good for the people that think like me.
And he's hopeful the proposed new map will be approved by the Missouri House on Monday or Tuesday and get it over to the Senate. Under this new map, part of Columbia, part of Boone County would move to Congressman Lutkemeyer's East Central Missouri district. Cooper and Montauk counties would move as well. Missourians who paid personal income tax in Missouri in 2021 would receive a refund under a bill that has received initial approval in the Missouri Senate.
The bill approved by the Missouri Senate provides a one-time tax credit up to $500 for individuals and $1,000 for couples. The GOP-controlled Missouri House has given final approval to a similar bill. Ashland State Representative Sarah Walsh voted for the House bill, noting the state has a $1.8 billion surplus. Walsh says the people can spend the money better than the government. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
Right, Don, thank you. And Jefferson City authorities are appreciative of all the residents and business owners who assisted in the search for an elderly man who was battling Alzheimer's. They found him late Thursday morning on Mall Ridge Court. He's alive. He just was out in the elements all night, so he has to be treated for exposure. JCPD Lieutenant Dave Williams says he's being treated right now by EMS out in the elements again all night. They're thanking everyone who helped them with a video as well of him walking by the Hy-Vee grocery store. Our news is brought to you this hour by Missouri Tourism. Visit Missouri. Discover the possibilities at visitmo.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 8:06. In sports, Cardinals beat San Francisco last night. Oracle Park 7 won the final. Edmond had 3 RBIs. Molina home run. Game 2 of the series tonight in San Francisco. First pitch 9:15 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Hicks on the mound against Cobb. Royals idle Thursday. They start a road series tonight against Baltimore on the road. Camden Yards, if you will. 6:05 is the first pitch there. And in hockey, the Blues hosting the Minnesota Wild tonight at 8:30 at the Enterprise Center. Game 3 in their first round best-of-7 series. The organization, the Blues, playing tonight, 8:30. The series tied at 1 game each, and they'll play again on Sunday at the Enterprise Center. That'll be a 3:30 start, and after that, they go back to Minnesota to the Xcel Energy Arena, again tied at 1 game each. Sports is also brought to you right now by Visit Missouri, Missouri Tourism. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:07. All right, John, thank you, and great work today on television with Molly. We appreciate your work with us as well. Partly cloudy right now in Columbia, 52. Traffic check, MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. It's 808 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Just a reminder that we have at least 11 roads that are closed right now in Cole County, primarily just outside of Jefferson City. Biggest one would be Zion Road. Quite a bit of water on that road. And last night during Layla Mitchell's live shot on Channel 17 at 10, someone tried to drive through that area, had to turn around. No fault to the driver. You could not see the water on the road, and you couldn't see the sign. Very dark in that area, so be careful if you are out and about. We'll have more team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Sure. Now, from that dinner that they had, there were a few COVID cases that kind of quietly squeaked out. No, you do not. Oh, I've got this in the bag. So all this week, I've been grateful for my boyfriend and I. We got our first place together last weekend, and we're getting settled in, and it's starting to feel like home. But I'm just very grateful to finally be living in California, Missouri, where we've been trying to get back to for a year or so, and to have my first place with my boyfriend. I came in this morning and I said, Branden, did you get Stephanie a flower? And he goes, no. Did I put a Post-it note with my name on it? Yes, I did. I did not until just now. Branden is the king of doing that. I can't think of anything. It's not that I'm not willing to share. I don't know what I haven't already said. I don't know. I mean, I kind of talked about some of my mental health stuff yesterday. Yeah. Just now? A little worried about him?
You're listening to Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert on 93.9 The Eagle.
I don't want you to worry about me. I'm vaccinated. I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I gotta admit, that's probably the most decision I've made in a long time. I walk in the doctor like, give me the third best option. I'll have what the homeless people are having.
Dave Chappelle, who, by the way, is going to be okay after being attacked on stage this week. He is going to be okay. Dave Chappelle on the JJ vaccine, and that gets us into this morning's Morning Bell with Stephanie Bell on 93.9 The Eagle.
So if you recall, these vaccines are still under this emergency use authorization. And so in reviewing that yesterday, the FDA started, telling people, hey, this blood clot thing is a real thing, and a bunch of other thrombosis and something else I can't pronounce called TTS. Anyway, so now what they're saying is it's still under the emergency use authorization, but only those who are 18 years or older, or who would, or no, and. This is an and. If you're a lawyer, you know the importance of the or and. So you have to be 18, and you have to be a person who would not otherwise receive a COVID vaccine due to availability, can get the Johnson & Johnson. So, at this point, Branden, I don't think you would qualify to get the Johnson & Johnson. Yet you've already got it, and you can't take it back.
I'll tell you, so there's a lot of things. And I hope Gary gets into this because he's going to do Frost Your Buns Friday starting at 9 o'clock. And I love that because we go from Feel Good Fridays here on Wake Up Columbia to
Frost Your Buns. Although sometimes letting it
good.
out makes you feel good.
I love when Gary does this. But here's if Gary were to have me on his show, here's what would frost my buns. Not just the government, but these businesses that said, hey, you have to do this. I'll speak for myself, but most of us smart people, what was our biggest concern? These have been rushed to the market. I get science is advanced. You can do it quicker now. But when you talk about the psyche, we were worried this is relatively new, and what about this, and what about that? So the idea that we were told to do it, we were upset because why? Because you're making us do something that's not been tested that long. I mean, you haven't even tested it in lab rats that long. What were we worried about? Odd effects. Guess what Johnson & Johnson and the FDA is saying now regarding a Johnson & Johnson vaccine? Hey, you know how we were telling you got to get vaccinated, you got to put this foreign substance in your body, you better do it. Now they're saying, hey,
yeah.
Hey, wait a minute.
Well, and I think a lot of times with drugs and everything else, you're weighing. You hear those commercials with all of the side effects, and you're like, oh, that sounds really bad. But if whatever it is ails you, and now what we know is the vaccine won't even prevent you from getting COVID. People are still getting COVID. And so that weighing of here are the risks versus the reward is so much lower, and now they're saying the risks are higher. It's really scary.
I'm not mad at just the government. I'm mad at business places that made their employees put this stuff into their body. Gary, I hope you have me on your show, buddy. I so bad want to do Frost Your Buns. Winners and losers of the week coming up 8:35.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. It's a stronger than expected monthly jobs report out from the Labor Department.
3.6% is your unemployment rate. 428,000 jobs were created. Those top line numbers beating estimates, the 12th consecutive month above 400,000 jobs created. The feeling in the White House is that with a strong labor market, the unemployment rate already low, they expected fewer jobs. But again, they got a beat on the average.
Edward Lawrence with Fox Business at the White House. Former New York City Mayor and Trump advisor Rudy Giuliani cancels today's interview with the House committee investigating last year's year's Capitol riot.
They refused to let him record the session on video. Giuliani, who helped lead the former president's effort to overturn the results of the 2020 election, is under subpoena to testify. A committee spokesperson says they will consider enforcement actions against Giuliani if he does not comply with the subpoena.
Giuliani's attorney says a future appearance is not off the table. That was Fox's Tanya J. Powers reporting. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 8:31. We do have partly cloudy skies trying to dry out. 53 is our current temperature. Here in Columbia, it's 51 degrees in Jefferson City. Our sun will set tonight at 8:06. We try to dry out. More on that in a moment. Good morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. A veteran Mid-Missouri lawmaker is hopeful the House will approve a new congressional redistricting map by early next week. A proposed new map splits Columbia into 2 districts. However, it is difficult to see exactly where the boundary is. Rocheport GOP State Representative Chuck Basie has talked to the redistricting committee chair Dan Scholl. He says the line is apparently along Broadway through Columbia, connecting with I-70. There's still some questions, though, about it.
He said it's I-70 as the border, but I haven't seen a really detailed map. But one of the analysts I talked to said that when it gets to Midway, it follows along Highway 40 where I live.
Cooper and Montauk counties would also move to the 3rd district under the new map. You can hear our full interview with Representative Basie on our website, 939theeagle.com. Missouri taxpayers a step closer to getting a $500 tax refund from the state. If you're a married couple, $1,000. It would be a one-time tax credit. House has approved a similar bill from Budget Chair Cody Smith. Ashland Representative Sarah Walsh notes Missouri has a $1.8 billion surplus. Heavy rains and flooding have closed at least 11 roads in Cole County, including Zion Road, and a Columbia man charged with rape, child molestation, and other felonies for that Culver's incident. He's been in prison 5 times in the past 15 years. News brought to you this hour by Hemi Construction, Columbia. Our news time, 8:33. In sports, the Cardinals beat San Francisco last night at Oracle Park. Cardinal leadoff man Tommy Edman, 3 hits, 3 RBI, 7-1 was the final score there. In the ball game, Yadier Molina hit a home run as well. The Cardinals had 12 hits in the game. Giants needed 9 pitchers in the ball game. They, of course, play in a pretty tough division, the Giants do, in 4th place right now, but a good team. Cardinals pretty impressive. Game 2 of the series tonight. Late game. You'll have to stay up for it. 9:15 here on 93.9 The Eagle. That's the first pitch. Jordan Hicks against Alex Cobb. Because it's a late game, Kevin Wheeler will be handling your pregame and postgame coverage. Mr. Ackerman will probably be in bed after his early morning shift. The Royals idle Thursday. They begin a road series at Baltimore tonight, 6:05. And in hockey, the Blues hosting the Wild tonight at the Enterprise Center, 8:30. Puck will drop tonight in the NHL playoffs. Game 3 of their first-round best-of-7 series. That series tied at 1 game each. Game 4 will be Sunday, 3:30. Enterprise Center heads back to St. Paul and Xcel Energy Arena after that. Sports is brought to you by Witt Print Shop, where your printed products are so much more than ink and paper. Our news time, 8:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job or post your job opening today. Our roads have been pretty quiet in mid-Missouri. Again, there is in some areas seeing some light rain that will start to clear out in the late morning, and we'll finally, hopefully, see some sunshine today. It's been a while since we've seen it. Seems like weeks. Our high today, 64. Clear tonight, low near 47. And then tomorrow looks nice, sunny and a high of 72. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
If you have the audacity to tell people how you're doing when they say how you doing, that's rude and selfish, all right? I'm serious. There are two acceptable answers to how you're doing. Fine and great. And if you're miserable, you say fine. You don't burden people with your real world problems during a courteous exchange. Yeah.
It's funny because it's true. I love that. That guy's name, and he has several specials on Netflix. I've seen some of them. Tom Segura stuff is funny. Kind of plods along sometimes, but good stuff. You're looking for something to do this weekend, although according to what Brian Hauswirth is telling us with his ABC 17 Storm Track, I don't know, Storm Track forecast, I don't know that we'd want to spend a whole lot of time indoors this weekend. My goodness, it's finally, it's coming out today, still cloudy now, but we're going to see something we haven't seen in quite some time.
The sun. I mean, it's worth hitting the breaking news theme. That's how long it's been since we've seen the sun. But you know, we talked to Branden this morning when you and I were early at the radio station. Just how gloomy it's been. It can affect your mood and everything else. But it's been really tough. And then we've got roads closed. It has been really, I mean, ground saturated. It's been really rough. So a good chance for people to hopefully get out and about, maybe take a walk, just something simple, because it's been very tough. And we've had a lot of issues with the rain. I mean, the last 2 weeks have been a lot, and it's been busy.
And the other thing to keep in mind then, I think by Monday,
heat.
Record highs potentially by the time we get to Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it occurs to me, because I always try to be open-minded. And it occurs to me, you know why this is happening? You know, we have flooding 4 or 5 days in a row with cloud cover and this bizarre weather. We had tornadoes in parts of the Midwest this week, wildfires in New Mexico, all this stuff. I'm trying to be open-minded. You know why this stuff is happening? If I'm being honest with myself, because it's May. And that's what the weather does in the springtime in Missouri. Feel Good Friday edition of the show. Brian Hauswirth, Stephanie Bell, there's Hannah. My name is Branden Rathert. We do appreciate you being with us today.
And now for nominees for the winners and losers of the week on 93.9 The Eagle.
Winners and losers of the week. We used to like to pick our winners and losers of the week, and people got upset. And then we nominate. It's silly, isn't it?
It really
and then
is.
we nominate winners and losers of the week, and guess what happens? People got upset. Right? And here's what I say. Okay. All right. It's like these people. Drew Barrymore, she apologized this week because she was joking about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing. And I really do wish people would quit apologizing unless you mean it. Branden, you need to apologize. You talked about dudes looking at women's boobs all day on the show. No, I'm not going to apologize for that. Number one. Number two, that's not what we talked about. We talked about how guys feel sometimes when they see women with print on the front of their shirts. And I didn't lose any salary. I bet a week's worth of salary that guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm keeping my week's worth of salary on that. But it's not something I'm going to apologize for. And these people that apologize just because somebody will call them out on the Twitter or whatever. They, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Unless you really mean it. Unless you go, hey, you know what? Yeah, I didn't look at it that way. But since you've said something, yeah. But I'll bet you a week's worth of Hannah's salary on this one that most people, when they apologize, they don't mean it. It's just because they're afraid of the scrutiny. They're afraid of the backlash that they get or whatever. All right, we're winners and losers of the week. I want to nominate Brian Hauswirth. If you have any nominees, by the way, 874-9390, 874-9390. There's at least two people I want to nominate locally. Roy Blunt is one of those locally I want to kind of nominate. But I want to nominate Brian Hauswirth. Brian Hauswirth uncovered very quietly that, hey, the honor flight's not just our Central Missouri honor flight. Out of the way, our radiothon for them coming up next month here on 93.9 The Eagle. Brian was able to uncover that National Park Police said we're not going to provide escorts in Washington, D.C. for honor flights anymore. And this is not about stopping traffic and zooming through and doing the thing. It's about two things. And I've been a guardian on these honor flights. Beautiful thing. It's about the veterans that get to do everything in the day, because it's a 24-hour trip, by the way. And you don't stay in a hotel. You go, you spend the day, you come back. It's almost 24 hours. It allows them to do all of that. And the other thing, to watch these guys, I'm not kidding, man. To see them looking out of a bus window, like you're in the 4th grade and you're on the school bus and you look out of the window, to see these veterans, these women and men that have served our country, and they look out the window, like, look at that. They're stopping traffic for us. I serve this country. I signed up to do anything it would take for this country and for people. And I'm getting a little bit of a reward. It's that feeling they get. So I'm going to nominate you for uncovering this, because we got onto it with Senator Hawley. We talked with Hertzler's office and Blunt's office. So I'm going to nominate you for getting the ball rolling on that.
I appreciate that. I mean, we worked hard on it. I saw a little bit of a vague tweet from Congressman Jason Smith that hadn't really been picked up, and he referenced a Florida congressman. I think what really we jumped all over it with Roy Blunt. We had to get some information from Roy Blunt and Senator Hawley, but Senator Blunt really took the lead on it. But I do believe, Branden, that it was our inquiry to the Interior Department. There's no doubt in my mind it was right after that they reversed their decision, but it baffles me. They never did, by the way, respond to us. They responded to the Congress. But there's no doubt that inquiry definitely helped. But I think, as I said to you, I think a couple days ago on air, had they just responded with that part of those statistics that they had, it would have at least been a better perspective than not responding at all, because they took some bad criticism there.
And it was, I'll tell you, Blunt, Hawley, Hart, they got it fixed with a quickness. Check out the Wake Up Columbia podcast, which you can do anytime. Go to our website, wherever you download your podcast. The 3 big things from yesterday's show that you want to check out. 3 big things. The 6 o'clock hour. What was the other thing?
Was it the 8 o'clock hour?
Yeah, and then there was one more.
The 7.
Yeah. Wednesday, seriously, Roy Blunt, 7 o'clock. A great conversation. Wow. I do hope you will go and check that out. So who are you? So I'm nominating you for getting the ball rolling on that. I am nominating Senators Hawley, Blunt, Hertzler. Who are you going to nominate for winner or loser of the week?
I've got 2 real quick ones. I'm going to nominate you for helping me on that interview. Getting Roy Blunt on it was huge. I mean, we broke some news with that interview. That was amazing. He was and he just let him have it. He said, we're going to hold their feet to the fire. It basically said this is not going to happen on his watch. So great job getting him on. You worked very hard on it, too, trying to get information from Josh Hawley and Hertzler. So I nominate you. And then my mother. My mother, of course, has had some health issues, and nominating her as well. Mother's Day's coming up, and it's a big deal.
Man, I think we should stop nominating our winners of the week right here and move forward, because we can't top that. Steph, what do you have today?
I have old people. No, so seriously, 2 100-year-olds, and making us all look bad. National Park Service Ranger Betty Reed Soskin works in California, retired as America's oldest national park ranger at age 100.
Wow.
Meanwhile, a 100-year-old in New Jersey, or from New Jersey, Lester Wright, ran a 100-meter dash at the Penn Relays in like 25 seconds right after his 100th birthday. And I'm like, what are we doing out here? We're just slacking. Man.
When I go to the gym every day, when I run, I have to set my timer, because I only do like 2-minute sprints, because I can't do that stuff. Dude's 100 years old.
100-meter run with a finish time of 26.34.
That's awesome.
Hannah, what do you got?
I have less of a nomination and more of a reminder of one of your nominations. I wanted to remind you that you were going to nominate me for winner of the week.
Exactly.
You already forgot?
Yeah, what was it?
When we were texting yesterday?
Oh, yes.
I'm glad I
Yes,
reminded you
yeah.
because I wanted my moment, Brandon. Come on.
All right. You know what? Let's do this because I have some losers I want to nominate too.
Oh,
Now, wait, are
great.
you nominating a winner or a loser here?
No. I'm just reminding you
Oh, yeah.
of
Okay.
one of your winner nominations, which was me.
That's right. I'm nominating Hannah for winner of the week.
Oh, I have to do my own explanation?
Yeah, because
You already forgot. Dang it.
Here's why. You will probably tell the story much better than I do.
So Brandon and I were texting yesterday morning before the show. I have a 45-minute commute, and it was pouring its butt off. So I said, hey, might be a couple minutes late. I'm taking it slow. And he said, okay, no big deal. So when I'm supposed to be here at 5 o'clock, he texts me again, and he's like, where are you? It's 5 o'clock.
I was trolling, and she knows.
Yeah. I was like, I just passed KOMU, like I'm almost there. And then he said, oh, so you're texting and driving. You shouldn't text and drive.
So I said, so then I'm trolling her more, and I'm like,
Right.
well, Hannah, you shouldn't be texting and driving.
And I quoted Branden Rathert, and I said, you should never should on yourself or other people.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I gave her
got
points. She got
Got
me
him.
with my own words. I want to nominate some folks texting Colby. Dusty and Linda are texting from Orlando, Florida this morning. Can you wish the Eagle Elite cheer team good luck today at the D2 Summit? You bet we can. Want to nominate John Paulson. Here's why I'm nominating John Paulson, local dude. And I think it's pretty cool. Back to Stephanie's old people thing.
Wow. What a backhanded compliment.
He just downloaded the Eagle app.
I think it's Joe. I think you said John. It's Joe, speaking of.
Thank you. Joe, 70 years old, downloading the Eagle app. I just think that's cool. Whenever anybody does it, but especially for somebody that is stereotypically supposed to be outside the realm of, you know how uncomfortable I was watching TikTok last night as a 51-year-old chubby balding dude? Joe is 70. He's like, I'll one-up you. I'm going to download your Eagle app.
Yeah, no, but I have friends all over the country. I go to these conferences, and lots of them are constantly asking me about our Senate race. They want to know what's going on in Missouri, and I say, hey, you can download the app and listen from anywhere.
Loser, I want to nominate Losers of the Week. Alejandro Mayorkas. I don't know if you heard this, just an incredible exchange this week. He's being questioned by Senator Kennedy. They're asking about Nina Jankowicz, who's going to be the information czar in America. She will be the one to decide what's fact. Now, remember, she is the one, that Biden stuff, that Hunter Biden laptop stuff with a lot of important info on there with dealings with other countries. No big deal, and I hope I got the money shot in here, but he was asked, Alejandro Mayorkas asked, did you know about these misinformation claims from the person you want to be in charge of the Disinformation Bureau?
For the veracity of the Steele dossier? Senator, let me repeat myself and add an additional fact. One, we do not discuss internal hiring processes. Two, I was not aware of that fact. Three, as the Secretary of Homeland Security.
He was not aware of that fact that the person he's appointing to be the czar of disinformation was spreading disinformation herself. He was not aware of that fact. Reminder, the guy is in charge of keeping you safe, Stephanie. He's the head of Department of Homeland Security. He apparently doesn't know how to work the Google box because he didn't find this disinformation.
It's not a good start.
That this woman has spread. We might work in some more. I want to see if we do some more local winner nominations here on a Feel Good Friday. Sun coming out later today.
political opinion, we got your back. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. Sorry to see you go.
Are you?
Yes, and you've always been a good sport.
Thank you.
So
As
on
have you.
behalf of everybody, thank you.
I'll nominate Fox's Pete Ducey for that nice exchange with outgoing White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, who's been training for the past year or so, been training for her gig at MSNBC. I've always appreciated the relationship they've had, and they've always said, you get them away from the whole setup in the White House where you're being the questions and the stuff. They've always said on a personal level, they get along famously. They have a great relationship, so I thought that was worth nominating for Winner of the Week. Some other winners I want to work in here as we wrap up. Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. I apologize if I've forgotten anybody. I want to nominate Mark. We have a lot of people that listen from Florida. Mark used to live in Columbia. He's listening from Florida. We have our friends that are at this big cheer competition from Orlando, the Eagle Elite Cheer Team, D2 Summit. Also want to nominate some of our local folks for winners and losers of the week. So Mark sent us an email, a couple of stories recently. Como Man. We should create a whole new thing. Hannah and Stephanie, this is right up your alley because it's, digital internet stuff. There's Florida Man. We should do Como Man. Like create a website, memes, things like that. Guy earlier this week robbed a convenience store in Centralia. He was from Columbia and then apparently, allegedly, stole a dump truck for his getaway vehicle. Another dude busted earlier this week running around naked through Culver's. Mark says, from Florida, he says, maybe we should change Florida Man to Como Man. Also want to nominate Shelley. We got into this thing this morning. Tom Brady in this viral TikTok thing. Tell me something honest. Tom, and I don't know if he was legit or not. I have a feeling he was teasing, but maybe not. The Tuck Rule game, one of the most consequential games as it relates to fumble rules in the history of the NFL, saying, hey, the Tuck game, it may have been a fumble. So we got into a fun conversation about tell us something honest this morning. Listener Shelley, can you get Eric Greitens on the phone and see if he will tell you something honest? Shelley, I am nominating you for one of our winners of the week. And, of course, we are nominating moms everywhere. And I hope if you get an opportunity, especially maybe somebody you know that's a single mom. I always like to highlight single parents, maybe this weekend, especially, man, single moms. Good on you. See ya.
Bye.